What is good with y'all boys? Dame Time MMA here. I am back. Professional narrative killer, professional reality checker, the best predictor on YouTube. All of the above, bro. We are back.
Dame Time MMA time.
And today we are talking about the UFC's biggest lie. Listen, I'm sure we've all heard it from the UFC. They keep saying it time and time again. All you have to do is win, bro. That's all you have to do. You just keep winning, keep beating the next guy up, and eventually you'll get the title shot. You know, you'll be up there, you'll be fighting the best of the best. That's how it's supposed to go, right? It sounds great on the outside. That would be an amazing system. It's great until you realize that the UFC, they just don't follow that at all. They don't. Some examples. Imavov, fucking Evloyev, Armin Sarukian. Why is Paddy Pimblett getting a title shot? Paddy Pimblett. Who has he beat? Armin Sarukian, he hasn't beat the highest level of lightweight competition, but I'd say he'd beat way better competition than Paddy. What the fuck? Like, why is that? Why is Paddy even in the conversation, bro? I don't understand it. This is what we've all been told for the longest. All you have to do is win. You'll get your shot. But just explain to Evloyev what's going on there, bro. He's undefeated. He beat all the contenders they put in front of him, including Diego Lopez. But the UFC just thinks, you know, why don't we give Diego Lopez the rematch? You know, why don't we just, after he got dominated the first time, you know, maybe it will change the second. Why? What's going to change? Nothing. Evloyev deserves it. Why is Diego Lopez getting it, bro? Listen, I don't care how boring you think Evloyev is. If the UFC stuck to their word, he is supposed to be the one fighting for that title. And it should have been a while ago at that. Movsar did exactly what the UFC asked, and he's still waiting, bro. There's even talks of Gene Silva getting a title shot over him. Gene Silva's like my favorite fighter right now. And even I think that's outrageous, bro. Evloyev deserves the title shot. Nobody else should be even in the conversation. This is insane. For Imavov, it's slightly similar. I can see how you can argue that he doesn't deserve it, but still, like, I think he deserves the title shot, bro. If you look at his last 5 fights versus Sean Strickland's, I mean, they don't really compare. I'd say, arguably, Imavov's is way better, bro. Strickland lost to Dricus twice. I mean, he beat Gilbert Burns and Hernandez, but what the fuck is that, you know? Of course, the UFC has to give the title shot to Sean Strickland. It's gonna bring more casual fans. It's gonna bring more viewers, all of that. And I'm not saying Imavov is better than Strickland or Chimaev, because Strickland beat Imavov already, even though that was years ago. I'm just saying, based off the UFC's logic, Imavov deserves the title most. So, another example is fighters can win. They could even win the title shot. And if they're not entertaining enough, they're not up to the fan standards, the UFC's standards, they're not going to get pushed. The fans aren't going to like them. Think of Carlos Ulberg, bro. He'd just be a fan favorite. I mean, I like Carlos Ulberg, but his personality, there's not a lot to it. You know, he's just he's an average Samoan guy. You know, you can go find like 20 of him. So nothing really special. People like Yuri's personality more. They're outraged, you know. But Ulberg gets wins. He gets wins. People just don't like him because he doesn't like fit their standard for like this aura MMA fighter, bro. But he's the champion. He's getting wins. He definitely has a chance to beat Ankalaev. And you guys just have to accept that, bro. Like, you guys are pissed that a good fighter is a champion because he isn't cool enough for you guys. You understand how that sounds, bro? Like, he's a good fighter. I don't know what to say. So this brings us to the question, like real talk, if winning doesn't reward you in the UFC, what does? You know, what could you do? Well, let me break it down. There's a few things. One is marketing. You have to have a big personality. Trash talking definitely ups you in like the scores or whatever, bro. The UFC is gonna love you a lot, bro. If you just get on that mic, say whatever, you're a loudmouth. Look at Josh Hokett, bro. I'm not saying Josh Hokett's bad, but he's fighting on the White House this early into his career, fighting against all these top guys in the top 5. He's so new, and it's just because he got on the mic, he did stuff, he got people to talk about him. If you look at a guy like Mario Pinto, he's arguably better than Josh Hokett. He's not getting pushed at all because people find him boring. He went to decision one time. People hated him, bro. So it's like winning isn't enough, bro. You have to be entertaining. You have to be marketable. You can't just be an average Joe that knocks people out. That brings us into our next thing, excitement factor. You have to be exciting. You can be exciting on the mic, but are your fights exciting? They tie into each other. They both have to be exciting. Um, you don't even have to be a good fighter necessarily. You just have to, get knockouts and stuff. You can almost lose your life in a fight, but as long as you come out on top, it could be the sloppiest knockout ever, but the fans are still gonna love you if you get that knockout. And it's a highlight reel, they're gonna love it. They're gonna eat it up. And then that same fighter is they're gonna verse someone who's actually good. Everyone's gonna pick them, and they're gonna lose. They're gonna be like, "Why'd this happen? Why'd this happen? I thought you was just gonna knock him out." Because they're sloppy. They're not good. They're only being pushed because of their personality, their marketability, bro. Other fighters that don't have that, they're better. They're just not being pushed. Having finishes and not the best record or just not the best overall is way better in the eyes of the UFC than being an amazing fighter, undefeated, but all your fights are boring, you know? You don't say anything on the mic. You don't get the fans to want to watch you, you know? So like that's way better in the eyes of the UFC. They're gonna push these worst guys just 'cause that, bro, that one reason. So if you can mix marketing and excitement, the UFC is gonna skyrocket you, bro. They're gonna push you. I mean, look at Curtis Campbell, bro. Everybody, yo, this guy, the Pink Panther, he's dangerous. This guy's fucking horrible. I'm sorry, bro. Curtis Campbell, you got beat the fuck up, bro. You got beat to smithereens. You got beat to a pulp. You're not good. You got the custom fight shorts. I think it was your debut. Why? Why are you pushing this guy, bro? He's not good at all. And Tommy McMillan, I mean, he's winning, but who the fuck is he won against? Who has he won against? You know? This is what I was talking about, bro. People they're gonna hype up Tommy McMillan. He's gonna get beat the fuck up by someone who's actually good at fighting. People are gonna be like, "Yo, what happened? This guy's a fraud, bro. I never knew that." What do you mean you never knew that? You can see it from the start. Just watch him. He's not anything special. And I understand why the UFC does this. They're a business, like after all. They have to sell fights. A fight between two bums that talk a lot, they have star power that the fans give them. That fight is going to sell a lot more than two undefeated guys that are amazing but boring. It's just the truth. So, I mean, I can see why the UFC does it as a business standpoint, but you know, just why claim that it's the best versus the best if it's clearly not? So the ending point I'm trying to make here is basically the UFC's biggest lie isn't that winning matters, because winning does matter. You have to win, but The lie is that winning is the only thing that matters. You have to be entertaining, and that's truth, bro. You have to have a big personality. You have to go out there and excite the fans, or else you're gonna have a very hard time. Of course, it's still possible to make it to the top if you're like that, but it is going to be a lot harder. I mean, look at Movsar Evloev versus Josh Hokett. Look at how long it took Evloev to get to the top of his division versus Josh Hokett. Now, I know that's kind of like a bad statement just because if you look at how stacked featherweight is compared to heavyweight, but still, bro, they're not pushing Evloev as much as they're pushing Josh Hokett. And that's a fact. Evloev is 1,000 times better than Josh Hokett, but it doesn't matter, you know? They're not going to push him. He's not entertaining to the fans. So it's a business, bro. And once you come to this realization, all of these dumbass, just like stupid matchups that the UFC is making, they're going to start making a lot more sense, you know? There's still not going to be good fights. They're not going to be the best versus the best. It's just, look at Dana, bro. Look at him right here. These guys are trying to make money, bro. They don't care about us. They're trying to make money. So that's what they're going to do. Anyways, that was all for today. If you like this, want to see more MMA content, like, comment, and subscribe. All my other links are going to be in the bio. And I'll see you in the next one.
No, I'm not falling in my feelings by no silly hoe. Me and my niggas stick together like a neck foe.